Welcome to A Woman's Voice, Empowerment Radio, where your voice is heard. Featuring your host, Christy Lee Tritz, international best-selling author, inspirational speaker, and women's empowerment coach. Christy Lee supports women to no longer live in silence, to find their voices and to have those voices heard, to create change. Christy Lee's guests will inspire you, empower you, and show you how to overcome obstacles in your life. Guests will be sharing their stories of survival, how they moved through addiction, going from fear to empowerment, and how they came from silence to sharing their voices and being heard. Christy Lee will also be showcasing professionals who will give you powerful tools to move from where you are to where you want to be. Get ready to be encouraged and inspired. And now, here is your host, Christy Lee Tritz.
Hello everyone and welcome to today's show. I'm coming to you from cold but sunny today, Alberta, Canada. I must say, I can't wait for summer. Like most of you, I'm sure, that are listening. Don't forget to get your name in to be a part of the anthology project coming up this summer. And today, I'm going to introduce you to Jenny Ryan. She's our guest today. She's a 10-year veteran in the network marketing field and has trained and worked with some of the best leaders in the industry. Jenny is now leading her teams and coaching to inspire and help others to live up to their highest potential. She's also becoming a soccer mom of 2 boys, aged 7 and 9. Welcome to the show, Jenny.
Thank you, especially the soccer mom.
I know, sometimes we end up getting titles that we didn't really think we would in our lifetime, hey?
That's right.
And
definitely.
So, I just wanted to ask you, how did you come into the position of leadership?
Okay, so basically, as you said before, like I've been in the industry for 10 years. So I started when my first child was 4 months old, okay? I wanted to work from home because I didn't really want to go back to a normal job, okay? I thought, but I also didn't want to just sit at home and be a mum. I mean, I'm not saying anything bad against being a mum, but I just knew that I wanted more, okay? I wanted to be able to do something with my time. So, I looked around for a while and I found a network marketing business. And so I got started in that. And I persevered with that particular business for about 4.5 years. And in that time, I learned some skills and I learned some things about internet marketing, but mostly it was kind of an offline business. So I then went online and found like a top tier business model. And that is really where I learnt a lot about the business model. Was a top tier business model that focused a lot on leadership and a lot on marketing. So they were the 2 things that I really learnt over those last, 2008 to about 4 years. And when you work with people, you tend to just learn the skills about leadership. It's not something that leadership, you can't just kind of learn it from a book. You actually have to learn it from actually leading a team of people. And, I guess finding what works and what doesn't. And that's really my story in a nutshell of how I got to where I am. It took a lot of persistence and a lot of mistakes and a lot of failure and a lot of self-education. It's all about doing ongoing training about improving your skills so that you can become a good leader, because it's not something that comes naturally for most people.
Right. And so when you started diving into that world, what were the most inspiring things for you, since you really wanted to be a home with your kids, but at the same time have something that you could still do? What inspired you most about that field and wanting to get into that?
Well, I guess I kind of just fell into that field initially because, I wanted to do something from home. But I really liked the people and what they stood for in the industry. You know, most people have this kind of shady or interesting perception about network marketing. You know, thinking, oh, it's the old Amway, people trying to sell you products at home parties and things, which, I mean, yes, obviously there's a lot of that goes on. But when you actually kind of see it from a different level, from a much higher overview, what you see is, you know, really leadership in its highest level. You see a lot of great leaders out there who really know leadership better than probably a lot of other fields, because it's something that they focus on, a lot of personal development. And, you know, in a lot of industries, they don't necessarily focus on that. And it's a lot about giving back. Okay, it's a lot about giving back, and it's all about helping others. Right. Really, I guess that's the best way. It's all about helping and inspiring others to become successful in their own life. And that's really what network marketing is, essentially, in a nutshell. It's all about helping a team of people to become better than what they were before. Mm-hmm. So that's really what, you know, it really inspires me. Besides my own why I'm doing this, but it really motivates me to see people transform from, you know, where they started to where they're going and where they will be. That really just fires me. I'm just so passionate about seeing people transform.
I can totally feel that coming from you. Like, just when you're talking, I can feel that you're doing it because you want to see other people succeed, and you want them to become leaders in their own lives and all of that.
Absolutely. And what I focus on when I'm training people with becoming leaders is mindset, because success to me is 90% mindset. Okay, it's 90% mindset and 10% skills. Yes, you need some skill, a skill set to be able to, you know, talk to people on the phone and do other things in marketing. But 90% of it is mindset. I could give people 200 free leads a day now, but if they don't have the right mindset, they just won't convert any of them. So really the mindset has to come first.
And that's the same in any business or any kind of endeavor you're doing. Like, your mindset becomes so important. If your mind's not in it, then there's not that passion, there's not that part of you that says, this is something I want to do, and I'm going to go through every hoop and every hurdle and everything that's thrown at me until I get to that point.
Absolutely, that's so true. And that's where most people fail, is because most people fail and quit because the first obstacle, they quit. Mm-hmm. They're like, oh, this is too hard. No, it's a scam. It's not, you know, it doesn't work, because they came across an obstacle. Right. When really, to succeed in any kind of field, you know, and particularly this field, there are going to be a lot of obstacles. No one I know that's successful ever got there without a lot of failures and a lot of obstacles. No one. Right. It may seem that way to some people, but it's definitely not that. I mean, you might get some people, for example, come in and join a company and they look like they've had instant success. What you don't hear is they might have had 5 years of failure in something else before they got there, okay? So you've either got to have the skill set and the mindset as you come into something and been already successful and you've already learnt the skills to be successful, or you have to develop them. There's just no escaping that. You have to develop the skills to become a leader and persevere through obstacles. You've got to be like a dog with a bone, you know, you've got to become a problem solver. Mm-hmm. That's really what a good entrepreneur is about, becoming a problem solver.
I mean, you take a look at people in history, like the Wright brothers, for example. Had they not failed and kept going and kept going and kept trying and kept trying, we wouldn't be where we are today when it comes to that field and that industry. But because they said, no, we know this can work. We just have to keep tweaking it. We just have to keep trying it. We just have to keep going. And no matter what anyone said to them, and no matter what was kind of portrayed towards them, that could never happen. There's no possibility that could happen. They didn't care. They just kept going on.
That's right. Exactly. That's a great example because, and there's many examples like, I mean, you look at every single successful, entrepreneur or some Thomas Edison or anyone like that. Gosh, I mean, they've failed a lot more times than the average person would persevere through. So that's exactly right, and that's why there's so few successful people that really make it. Just like athletes, good athletes, okay. Good athletes. There's so many people want to become successful in an athletic field, but how many of them actually truly make it? Okay, it's not all that many because, again, it's a mindset. They have to see themselves winning before they actually win.
Right, and that piece about personal development that you were talking about, your brain needs to be developed just like your body, like an athlete, like you're talking about. So if an athlete says, I'm going to run this race, and they never train for it, and they don't do anything for it, they just go on a whim and try it, they're not really going to probably be that successful. They'll probably be huffing and puffing at the end of the line trying to make it to the finish line. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But if they take that time and they take that, what is required of them to, for nutrition and coaches and personal development and all of that, and continue forward with that, they're going to be successful. But you have to have each one of those pieces of the puzzle in order to get to that point. You can't just think you're going to start at the huffing and puffing and make it to the finish line first. It doesn't work like that.
No. And, again, the most successful ones are the ones that focus on their mindset. I've seen, I don't know, what's a movie or some sort of training video or something on YouTube that I saw, I don't know, but it was about a coach teaching them how to win in their mind first. And, that's really key. Mm-hmm. Because you have to have a vision of where you're going and where you see yourself, and you have to 100% believe it.
Right.
If you don't believe it, then it's not going to happen. You have to really dig in. And this is why also a lot of people tend to fail, when trying to create success, is they don't have that big enough why, that big enough vision. Okay, all they see is they're just chasing the dollars. And that never works. If you're doing something simply for chasing the dollars, I can guarantee you'll fail every time. It has to be about something bigger than yourself.
Right. It totally does. And when we truly live our passions, that's what it's about.
Yes.
It's not really about us. It's really about what we can do with those and how we can reach other people. Because when you live in your passion, the rest of it sort of almost just happens all by itself. You don't even see it coming.
Yep. And it's interesting you brought that up because it was about 18 months ago when I really discovered that about, living in your passion and aligning with who you are. It took me a long time to realize that, before I was just kind of working the motions, and I'd had some success online and, been quite successful in my previous company. But it was when I aligned myself with who I stand for and who I was and my passion, that's when, I don't know, just like everything started to piece itself together.
Mm-hmm. And it's almost like it's completely out of your control. It's like you start living in that, and all of a sudden you connect with this person, and this thing happens, and that thing happens, and then you're like, whoa, it's almost like you feel like in a whirlwind of a cloud, and there's all these things going on around you, and it's like, all it took was making that one decision.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny how when you're focused on something too, that it's amazing what kind of things just pop up to help you to get there, like different resources or different people that you meet. They just suddenly appear when you're really focused on achieving something and you're aligning with who you are. Yeah, amazingly how just things just pop up that help you.
For sure. And so for you, what was that created that within you?
I guess for me, it was finding the right company that I'm currently working with, and also being focused on helping others more than I ever had before. I mean, I've obviously, being in this industry, it is all about helping people, but I think I just got to a point where I was like, I don't know, it all came to me that it was all about helping as many people transform, and that's, I guess, that was just really aligned with me.
Mm-hmm. What kind of transformation would you hope for those people?
Well, for most people, I can see. I mean, I'm seeing it with a coaching group that I have on Facebook. I'm actually literally seeing people transform before my eyes, and it's because I get them to focus. I'm doing, this 90-day blitz where they have to do certain activities every day, but part of it is that they have to do at least 30 minutes mindset training a day. And what that does is it increases their confidence. And I don't know, it just becomes really obvious that the person they were is no longer, and they're just become a lot more confident. They hold themselves differently. They provide, when you give out value, when you're focused on just giving out value to people, it just totally changes the way that you come across to people. And, by focusing and teaching people how to provide value, mm-hmm. It just attracts more people to you. That Jim Rohn's saying that the more value that you get paid for the value that bring to the marketplace.
And so what about, some of our audience that might be listening, they may have gone through like a traumatic event or something, and they may feel like they don't have any value. How can coaching and having somebody who you can have as a leader, how can that help somebody who's maybe in that position?
Well, everyone starts there where they don't have feel like they don't have value. I mean, I would have started there, but it's because when you get people to focus on educating themselves and learning skills and learning from other marketers and, just training themselves on the mindset, I mean, you only have to do it for a couple of days and you're, 5% better than someone else who hasn't. So mm-hmm. all you have to focus on is taking the little nuggets that you learn and putting it out there. I mean, you're giving value. It doesn't mm-hmm. have to be something that you've created for yourself or, come up with yourself. It's just by following other people that you learn to give value. I mean, that's how, when I first started, and I still do this. Is I learn from other people and teach it. That's all it mm-hmm. is. Learn from other people and teach it. Very simple.
So what are some of the things that you've learned from other people that you would like to pass on to maybe some of our listeners and the people that you have that you're helping with your mentorship?
Well, I focus on, as I said, I focus on marketing and mindset. And so I've always gone out of my way to learn from the best people in the industry. I've worked with some of the best internet marketers in the world. I've worked, I buy coaching courses consistently. I buy whatever I can get my hands on so that I can increase my value to the world. So that's really what I focus my people on as well as, and I do have a training platform where I can plug people into that sort of mindset and marketing training so that they can increase their value to the world as well. So it's up to them to do it. I can only put people in front of it. Mm-hmm. And it's up to them to take the actions on it. But when you're in a leadership position, you have to kind of lead by example. You can't, it's quite different to like coaching where you can stand, at a football game and a soccer game and blow your whistle and tell them to do this and that. You have to lead by example. That's the best way to inspire and motivate others to follow you, is just do what you do best and others will follow. Mm-hmm. I don't agree with, and I don't think that the best leadership is, as I said, blowing the whistle and saying, go team, go. Because what are they going to follow? They're going to follow you saying, go team, go. They're going to do exactly the same thing.
Exactly.
So, so the best way to lead is by example.
For sure. It's like a mom, right? I mean, we mentioned in the beginning that you're a soccer mom of 2 boys, and that's how we have to help our kids along, is by leading by example. And it's kind of the same thing, you know. A lot of us have things that are, you know, that we carry with us from our past that we haven't dealt with, that we, you know, maybe we don't even acknowledge them. Who knows? But when you get like a good leader in your life and you start that process of really diving into who you are, what your passions are about, what you really want to offer other people, that's when your life really starts to open up and you begin to realize things that maybe you never even knew were there before, that hindered you.
Yep, and again, that comes down to vision. When you have a vision of where you want to be and where you're going, that is what pulls you forward, but also people buy into your vision. Okay, you have to have that vision. You have to be very, very clear about it. You can't create something that you can't define, right? So, you know, a lot of people are kind of fumbling around. They don't really have any clarity on where they're going. So they can't create it because it's not all that clear in their mind. So for me, it's so important that people sit down and try and really work out what their why is, what their goals are, but most importantly, their vision. And it's interesting because I was watching last night, I watched The Wolf of Wall Street the other night, and then I watched an interview with Jordan Belfort on YouTube last night, and he was talking about exactly that vision as well, about having the vision. Goals aren't enough. It has to be a vision that motivates you, gets you out of bed every day. Mm-hmm. And, you know, that's something that other people will buy into. For example, when a company first starts out, you know, it has nothing to offer because it's only a vision. It doesn't have the reality of what they're trying to create. So for a person to start a company from nothing, they have to have very, very clear vision of where they're going. But if they do have that and they're very, very clear about it, they will bring other people into that vision who will follow them. Like Apple Computers, for example. He knew exactly what he wanted, and he knew how to get people enrolled in his vision and the way he wanted to create Apple. And he was very, you know, he didn't deter from it. He wasn't going to be thrown off by other people's opinions. Mm-hmm. It was simply, this is my vision of Apple. This is what I want. And he enrolled a whole team of people to work with him on that vision.
Right. And I think one thing, for example, with him, as that example, is he was really about the people, too. Like, you see the commercials, and a lot of the things are about, here's what you can do to connect with others. Here's what you can do to, like, play with your family. Like, a whole bunch of stuff like that. And that's how good marketing works, because, you know, well, we're not the most communicative environment anymore, thanks to, like, text messaging and things like that. You know, real communication is sort of a dying thing. And so to be able to bring that back to life in a way is a really smart idea.
And I guess it comes down to, and there's another very great speaker that talks a lot about this, and that's a guy by the name of Simon Sinek, who I've actually met at an event in Las Vegas a few years ago, and he wrote a book. His first book was called Start With Why, and he talks about Apple Computers in that way, because that's what they do. They focus on not what they have, but why they do what they do. Mm-hmm. And you're right, that's exactly how Apple transform, you know, how they communicate with the outside world. It's all about why they do what they do, not necessarily we have the best computers. You know, that's not going to sell, rather than why they do what they do. You know, think differently.
So what do you think the difference between, like, a vision is and just wanting to do something? What makes that different?
Well, a vision is something where you actually see it happening already. So a vision is something where you need to sit down and you need to think, okay, just say, for example, you set it for, say, you know, in 5 years' time or whatever. You need to see where you're going to be, what type of person you're going to be, how others will view you, And you have to be emotionally attached to it. You really have to be emotionally connected to that vision, and you have to see it happening. You have to almost, it's coming out of your skin, you're breathing it, you can smell it. Wanting to something happen is just a wish list. A lot of people want things, it really is just a wish list. But it's not motivating because they haven't really put the end piece to it. They're just thinking immediate, like tomorrow. They're not really thinking, how they're not going deep enough into why they're doing what they're doing.
Mm-hmm. Which is really important, because when you go to that deep level, that's where you find, like I said, things that hold you back. Because sometimes there are people who have tried and tried and tried to do things that they really want to be successful at. But sometimes that's where the piece of personal development comes in, because if you can learn about who you are and what you're all about, and be able to take that and say, oh, I haven't been successful yet. There's got to be something going on here. And that could be success with marriages. That could be success with relationships. That could be success with business. It can be unlimited amount of things that you may not be successful at. But there's got to be something there. There's like that brick that you haven't figured out yet. And when you get to the point where you start figuring that out and finding those pieces, and you have that great leadership to help you work through those things, that's when you really start to see like that blossoming effect.
Yes. And again, it does. It comes down to personal development and why people need to, focus on their mindset on a consistent basis. I can guarantee that if people would do that on a daily basis, it will make a difference to their business. Absolutely 100%. Because I know there's been times in my business, for example, in my previous business, I had this opportunity to go to New York for a special training seminar. And at the time, it was going to cost a bit of money to come from Australia and time and, away from my family and all that sort of thing. So for that particular month, I'd set myself a goal. I wanted to make $10,000, okay, so that I could, make sure I had the flights and you pay for everything and, just something I wanted to do. And I'd actually hired a coach, like a life coach sort of thing at the time, because that's what I do. I do whatever it takes to become successful. And part of what I did every day was these visualization, affirmation type things. It was created. She helped me create this video with the affirmations and audio. And what I did was make sure that I'd watched that every single morning and every single night. And I just was so focused and so believed that it was going to happen that at the end of the month, not only did I hit that goal, but I doubled it.
Wow.
Which was a really amazing thing to happen. And I just know for sure that and same with like last month in my business, I had this goal of achieving this next rank in my business. And I was so focused on it happening and so believing that it was going to happen, that it happened.
That's
so
awesome.
When people question that, it's like, don't question something that I know for sure works, because I've done it more than once.
And something I've come to realize is success is not a definition of something that's outside. It's not something you achieve. It's not something you gain. It's not something you go towards. It's something that lies within you.
Absolutely. And people do look a lot of people do look outside of themselves. They look for external motivation. They look to blame, whatever it is that they can blame, instead of taking responsibility. And that's what I did after, my first 4.5 years of failing in this business. And I say failing lightly compared to maybe a lot of other people failing, but I'd got myself into a situation where I'd spent a lot more money than I'd made in that first business. Now, I could blame everybody else, my upline, and blame whoever else. But I realized, that I had to take responsibility for my own results. And it was nobody else's fault except mine, because I was the one that taken the action. I was the one that did those things. So first step is, of course, is taking responsibility for where you are and where you're going. It's nobody. People also look for a mentor and a leader that they think is going to actually handhold them, okay, and drag them along and call them up every week and motivate them. But what I found is that actually does the total opposite, and it actually disables people from becoming powerful. Mm-hmm. When I first joined this other business in 2008, I was used to kind of the traditional network marketing where we had weekly calls and we'd talk about the same stuff every couple of weeks, and it didn't really go anywhere. Anytime I wanted to ask a question, you'd get it answered. And I came into a different style of leadership, whereas people weren't going to answer me the questions. They were just going to give me the resources to go find the solution for myself. Mm-hmm. Tell you what, that was the best thing that was ever done for me, because I learned to solve my own problems, look for my own solutions, and that empowered me to become a better leader, because I was not relying on external circumstances for my own success. And that's why, yes, I work closely with people, and especially people who deserve it. But I'm not there to call you up every week and motivate people to do what they need to do. I'm there to, help people. And if the people come to me with questions that I think they can find the answer for themselves, I will tell them where to go find the information, because they have to learn to become problem solvers, to become good entrepreneurs and leaders.
The thing is if we think of our children, for example, like we were talking about before, if you have a child and you give them everything in their entire life that they could ever want, and you answer them every question and you do everything for them, do you think when that child grows up they're going to want to leave home?
No. Thank you. No.
They're going to be so non-independent because they don't know how. They've never been taught. And that's the same thing when it comes to leadership. When you get taught how to become a leader and then you're able to do that for other people, it's the same kind of example like you were just talking about. When, for example, if you're hand feeding your kid all the time, what is your kid going to expect when they're 30 years old? They're just going to sit on your couch and expect you to bring them a sandwich.
Yep, exactly. And it's interesting because people who have issues with their kids sleeping through the night, this is something that I was really strong about. My kids, I was lucky, my first one slept through the night at about 13 weeks, and my other one took a bit longer. He was about 8 months, which is good compared to a lot of people, but it was still felt like forever to me. And I had to do the controlled crying thing with the older one because, with the second child, because he would wake up in the night, and because he was screaming out, my husband always wanted to jump up and pick him up because in case he woke the other child. But I'm like, no, I was really starting. No, you got to just let him self-soothe, because if he do, and he did it twice, and then he slept through the night, because otherwise people can. Oh my goodness, I've heard horror stories of people, their kids not sleeping through their night till they're like 5 or older because they're so used to being mollycoddled in the middle of the night. I mean, all circumstances are different, so I can't say for sure what the story is, but it's kind of the same thing. Is not, you have to kind of teach them to be independent.
Right. And find those answers. Yeah, no, I'm one of those parents who had a hard time. My son would not sleep through the night until he was over 2 years old. But we didn't know at the time that he had special needs. So there are different children and different circumstances, yes, for sure. But you get to know your child, and you know when your child is playing you and when they're not.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, it's hard when they're a baby because they can't really tell from a cry. I mean, I don't know. Supposedly some people can, but I never could tell what it was. But I just knew, that you had to at least give a try to let them self-soothe, even as hard as it was. Sometimes you had to let them scream for half an hour or more. And for most people, they just think, oh, it's too hard, I'm just going to go pick them up and rock them, because it was just the easier option.
But the thing is when they get to be teenagers, they just scream in a different way.
Yeah.
And they'll still scream for that half an hour until they get their way. Because they know it works, right? They know they're going to irritate you enough that they're going to get their way.
Yeah. Well, I haven't got to that age yet, but I'm sure it will. Yeah. So it's interesting, my kids have always been pretty independent too, because they grew up with me working from home, so they've had to kind of be independent. Whereas a lot of parents too, they the kids they're just so dependent on their parents to be able to play or anything.
Right. So, and that's not, like, when it comes to a leader, that's not really what you're looking for in a leader. In a leader, you're definitely looking for somebody who can say, I know the information, I know where you can get it, and here's where you can get it. Take a look. And then if you have further questions, don't hesitate to contact me. Like, there are some things that we all learn differently. And some of us need that personal contact after, if we haven't been able to find the answer. And other people are like, oh, awesome, you gave me something I can read. That's great, because that's how I learn best. And learning about learning styles helps you to become even more of a better leader, because eventually you start picking up who learns which way.
Well, there's this great thing called Google and YouTube. And what I learned to do was, if I wanted to find out the answer to anything, I could go to Google and YouTube and nearly always find the answer. Of course, sometimes, after hours of frustration, yes, you may go looking for help. But if you're going to a mentor or a leader, you need to kind of let them know, okay, this is what I've done. I've done this, this, and this, and I can't find the answer. Can you help me? Of course they're going to help you, because they've seen that you've taken the actions and you've already been resourceful to try and find the answer. But what's frustrating is when people just expect you to do it for them. I mean, right. And that, as I said, it disables them. It does not empower them. It disables them, because you're giving them, you're basically hand feeding them.
Mm-hmm. And that's what this show is all about: empowering women, empowering them to use their voices, empowering them to use all of who they are, all of who they were created to be. And there's so much to us that we, a lot of times, don't even know is there, because of, maybe that past hurt that's sort of stuck in the way. And having leaders like people like you who help you when it comes to that personal development side, that I don't know how much to say about that side, because that is like the main key. Because once you start figuring out that whole internal part of you, your world opens up in a way you never even knew existed.
It definitely does, and it leads you to meet more powerful people. I can definitely say now that the people that I associate and have met in the last 12 months, is so different to where I was 10 years ago, or even 5 years ago. Because, as you learn the skills and you become a better leader, and the way you conduct yourself, you tend to then hang around different people, people that are more your level or above. You always want to be surrounding yourself with people that are your level above and not below, because you want to keep always be trying to grow as a person, and the only way to grow is to surround yourself with the right people.
Right. And sometimes circumstances dictate that. Some people are not at that point yet. But once you get to that point and you have that within your life, it is true. Like, people around you begin to change, and you notice, like, new people are coming into your life are so much more positive, is what I found. Mm-hmm. And, it's not so much living in that negative Nelly kind of area of life anymore.
Yeah, well, the thing is, like, for example, with my business, and the people that I bring into my business, when you, it's also really important that you have an attitude of gratitude, and you always appreciate the people that have helped you along the way. You're always positive, and, you know, provide a lot of value, because that means, you said, it's like kind of sending out this higher vibration. When you do that, you tend to attract better quality people to you. Okay, when you send out a low energy, when you're, you know, just not a nice person, or you criticize others, or you treat people the wrong way, or you're not thankful for the people that have helped you, then you have a low energy, right? So then you tend to attract lower quality people. So, and again, that's something that can only be developed through personal development and working on your mindset every single day, so that you do become a person that has a higher vibration.
So what are some things that you use now compared to like 10 years ago for that personal development? What are some things that you've implemented?
Well, I mean, back then, yes, I did personal development, because in network marketing, that's always, you know, something that they focus on. But I guess it's different. It's just a different standard of what I mean, I use, you know, I've got this community and platform that I'm part of, which does focus a lot on mindset. I follow great leaders and follow their trainings and their mindset, you know, how they speak and how they conduct themselves. It just like is a different level to, I guess, where I was 5 years ago. You know, it's just a completely different level, and that only comes from, again, surrounding yourself with people that are of a higher standard. And that's something that I learned in my previous company. I mean, it was focused so much on leadership, and I learned so much in that time. And we had some great speakers and leaders. You know, there's a man by the name of John Jackson in our company who did daily wake-up calls, and his calls were, they were so inspiring and so amazing, and such that high vibration that I was talking about. Mm-hmm. So when you get used to being around that kind of high vibration, then you just naturally get attracted to that same vibration, I guess, you know, and in what and who you learn from. Mm-hmm. It just becomes a natural instinct.
So I just want you to take a second here. We're about halfway through, and I just wanted you to give us your contact information, so that if anyone on the call today would like to be able to get in contact with you, they would be able to do that.
Okay, I guess the best place would be my blog, which is www.jennyryan.com, and that's JENNIRYAN.com. That's okay. Probably the best place is my blog.
Okay, perfect. So I wanted to ask you a little bit more about how you were talking about in the place you were in about 10 years ago. What are some things that you experienced back then that helped you to become a stronger leader now?
Failure. Plain and simple. Everyone that becomes successful has to have some sort of failure or mistakes or things that they've done that helps them grow. You know, I'm sure everyone's heard that, you know, you have to kind of go through the failures and the obstacles to grow and become successful. And I guess, you know, back then when I first started, I certainly wasn't as hungry as I am now. But again, it's just because of development over that time and becoming more emotionally connected to my vision. I certainly had no vision back then. I just wanted to make money from home. Do you know what I mean? So, you know, that's all I knew. And I was doing things, you know, going around the streets with my baby in a pram, delivering flyers and doing home parties and all that sort of stuff, which never really worked all that well for me, and I just didn't like doing it. But yeah, it was just because I was just focused on making money and working from home, and now, I mean, it's completely different. My life is completely turned around, and it's completely now about helping other people and having that vision of actually inspiring hundreds of people. I mean, gosh, 10 years ago, I would never have thought I could ever inspire anyone. So, we all start there. So, yeah, I mean, we all start there. We've all got to start somewhere. We don't just walk into this world, magically being able to inspire people.
Mm-hmm. And I want to ask you a question. How can you use your failure to help you become a success?
Well, because it's a lesson that you learn from, because you've already made those mistakes, so you can help other people. It just becomes, everything that you learn is knowledge, and it's power, So, I learned from my mistakes in that business that I now know not to do that, so I can help other people and to kind of not make those same mistakes. Mm-hmm. So that gives you, I guess, a little bit of power as a leader, because there are probably a lot of people that are going through those same frustrations and those same struggles. So, they resonate with you, I guess, because you've been there and done that.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And the thing is that's where journaling, I think, comes in really handy. When you have failure, taking out your journal and writing about that failure and writing about why, the how, the what, and the where you want to go from that helps you when you're, starting to go onto that road of success in your life with whatever that is. And then you can look back on that and you can say, look at where I was. Look at how I thought. Look at, all of those kinds of things. And you can now see the different place you're in. And that's where I think journaling comes really important, is because not only does it help you capture something, but it allows you that place where you can go back and say, okay, wait a minute. This is something that seems reoccurring in my life. Let's go back to where I journaled this and see what it is I wrote down. And by writing it down, you're able to pinpoint some of the areas that maybe you can work on that could become your strengths.
Yeah, well, that's true, because, one of the things about failures is it also teaches you how to overcome obstacles. And it's the same as a child trying to learn to walk. I mean, they don't just get up and walk, do they? They have to, fall down 1,000,000 times before they actually learn to walk. So it's the same, in anything in life that you're trying to achieve that's taking you from A to B. You have to learn how to get there, and you have to learn how to go over things, how to go under things, how to go around things. And that's the lesson, I guess, that you're learning as you're growing, is, you become better at solving problems, better at overcoming things. You become an overcomer. Mm-hmm. And people don't. It's so easy to relate back to kids learning to walk. It's the same thing.
It is, exactly. Like you said, sometimes you have to go around things because that specific path's not going to work. There's a table in the way, or, you have to go under things because there's a bridge, and if you just try and go straight, you're going to, crash, or,
Yep.
And it's all a journey. It's all a path, and being able to navigate that with people who are in your life, who are helping you with the positive and helping you with the leadership and helping you with that development part, is so important if you want to continue going somewhere.
And, people often think that, success is a straight line, when it actually is quite a wobbly line that's very, very curvy. And, I like to... One of the things that I really pride myself on is actually being real with people and being authentic and telling it how it is. That's something, a lot of people in this industry can really hype things up and, try and, I guess, convince people to join them by telling them how easy it is and you just need to do this. I'm actually the opposite. And, I like to make sure that people understand that this is going to be one of the hardest things they've ever done if they really, really want to get to that absolute top level, top earners in the industry. you have to be prepared to go through a lot of sacrifices. You have to be prepared to sacrifice time. You have to be prepared to sacrifice, everything. You have to be prepared to work hard. You have to be prepared to overcome obstacles. You have to be prepared to take pot shots from people wanting to bring you down. There's so many things that get in our way that try to stop us from getting there. Right. But it comes down to you. How do you get around that? How do you rise above that? And that is what creates top earners in this industry, is being able to overcome all of that.
And that's exactly right. Like, it's so important to it's almost like looking in that mirror, right? And seeing like where you are and where you want to be and how are you going to get there.
Mm-hmm.
And taking that and creating a plan with it.
Exactly. Again, comes down to vision, doesn't it? I mean,
right.
We keep coming back to that, but it's exactly what it is. You have to have that vision. I mean, without it, you know, where are you going? It's like taking off on a plane and not knowing, driving in a car and not knowing where you're going. Oh, I don't know where I'm going, just somewhere.
And one thing that I have also found is that when you just make that decision that you want to change your life, or you want to get out of that situation, or you want to become successful, or you want to make money so you can help other people, it's almost like every single roadblock that can be possible starts to get in your way.
Yep. And that's why you've got to want it more than you can breathe. You really do.
Right. Because it's almost like it's a no-fail. Things are going to happen, and things are going to try and get in your way. But it's almost like, how bad do you want this?
Yes. And that's the universe does test you in that way. Something always will test you about how badly you want this. And that's only because at each step where you overcome that, it gets you one step closer to where you're going. And that's what you've got to look at. Okay, this obstacle was not put in my way to stop me and to put me, stop me in my tracks. It was put there so that I can learn how do I deal with this particular situation, and how do I grow from this, and how do I learn from this? And you always do. If you focus on that, you always learn from it. It's something amazing that I always find too, is that when a situation arises, it's amazing the things that pop up. For example, something happens in your business, and then all of a sudden you come across this video from a leader that addresses that exact question, that problem. Amazing how, because again, you're focused on overcoming that challenge, and the things appear for you in your way, to be able to help you overcome that.
Exactly. The thing is that some people, I think, they look at the roadblock. And it's, for example, like if you're going through, I don't know if you guys have them down there, but in Canada we have like police will set up like roadblocks and stuff, and
yes,
you have to pull over and they're going to check you, right? But if all you're looking at is that roadblock, and you don't see those flashing lights, and you don't see those police officers like waving at you to stop, you're just going to plow right through, and you're going to like go over the top of the cliff. But if you are able to say, okay, I see that roadblock, but guess what? This person, that person, this thing, that thing is before that roadblock. And I'm not going to hit that roadblock because I'm going to learn these things along the way before I even get to that.
Mm.
And so technically it's not the roadblock you're looking at. Now you're looking at, how can I overcome this roadblock? What do I need to put in place in my life to be able to do that? And what kind of resources do I need to start tapping into to be able to have that support that I need to do that?
Yeah. And as I said, when you put it out there, the universe will always, give you what you need. Mm. If that's what you're thinking about, like, for example, as I said, some videos will just, oh, gee, I needed to see that video today. That's exactly what I needed to see. They just appear. Mm-hmm. I mean, sometimes you do deliberately go looking for them, but I've always found that almost my whole career is that things appear when you need them the most.
Right. And I think that's why it's so important that you look beyond the roadblock, and you know that there's going to be more than what you could ever even imagine on the other side. And yes, there's going to be things you're going to have to get through. You're going to have to go through that mud bog, and you're going to have to climb up that mountain, and you're going to have to swim through that ocean, and whatever it is. But there's beauty beyond that.
Yes, and that's where your vision comes in it, because you've already seen it from the top. You're already sitting at the top of the mountain, looking down at yourself. Seeing yourself coming through those struggles, but you already know what it's like on the other end.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So that's why, you do persevere through things. People, even leaders and mentors. I mean, I've had a lot of different mentors in my time that, like I'll follow a certain leader and work with them closely for a period of time, and then all of us, sudden you kind of move to that next level, and then someone else, another leader or mentor will appear in your life just at the right time. It's all growth stages and moving through those great growth stages and attracting the right people into your life.
Yeah, and the thing is also inviting the right people into your life too. Like sometimes, we may invite those people who drag us down, and it's difficult to, if we came from a place where we were in that drag down kind of area of our life, it's difficult to navigate somebody else doing that at the same time, right? Whereas if you allow yourself to be surrounded by that positivity, and you allow, positive posts on your Facebook or positive people to join you, those kinds of things, they're going to build you up. And they're only going to propel you forward because they're coming from a place just like you where they want to see other people succeed. They don't want to tear them down and bring them to that downer place.
Yeah, you just have to be careful to try to remove the negative people in your life. I mean, in some cases, when it's people the closest to you, you can't always do that, but you just have to learn to not take on their thoughts and their negative thoughts and take them on as your own. You have to kind of distance yourself from their negative thinking. But yeah, also, I mean, if it's someone in your life that you don't have to be around and they are negative or they're trying to knock you down, then you just have to take yourself out of that situation.
Right.
Because it's going to be constantly there, eating away at you, bringing you down when you don't really need that to be the case.
And something positive will fall back into that place.
Yes. Exactly. Something better will come along, and something, as I said, the right things will come at the right time, and something else will come in place.
Exactly. So we're coming to the end of the show now, and I just wanted you to recap where people could get a hold of you.
Okay. So the best place to find me would be on my blog, because I have links there to my Facebook account, everything. I have my contact me form, a work with me for, anyway. And that's www.jennyryan.com, JENNIRYAN.com. So that would be, that would be the best place to go and find me. As I said, I've got my links to my social media there. If you want to learn more about me, I've got lots of great value and training on my blog as well. I've been posting on that blog for quite a few years, so there's a lot of training and helpful tips there to help people as well.
Perfect. I just wanted to say thank you so much for being on the show today. I really appreciate you taking the time and doing this with me.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Christy, and I hope people can understand my accent and I didn't talk too fast.
No, you were just fine. I just wanted to remind our listeners that we are happy to have you along the road as well. And don't forget to check out ChristyLeeTritz.com for more information about the projects that we are doing, and to invite you to be a part of my first anthology project, A Woman's Voice, 30 Inspiring and empowering women's voices to heal the soul. You can get a hold of me on Facebook or by email through contact@ChristyLeeTritz.com. Thank you very much for joining us on the show today.
Thank you for joining Christy Lee and her guests on the show today. Tune in to A Woman's Voice, Empowerment Radio, every Thursday at 1 Mountain Standard Time. This station is made possible by generous donations made by our listeners. To donate, please visit ChristyLeeTritz.com and keep helping us share women's voices. Have a blessed day full of inspiration.